Hear me? Yeah.
Everybody, always booking
Yes.
comedy. A little
Hi.
bit late. Sorry about that. Hustling around because of the festival that just happened, Vail Comedy Festival. How exciting! Back down in the Denver area, but Danielle here, I think, is still up in Vail. Oh my gosh, look at
Yes.
that
Still.
view!
Yes.
Holy cow, that is cool. That is awesome. How's
Getting
your day
the
going?
uh, getting the backlighting and the front lighting so that it didn't wash out the camera was a major feat.
Nice, good job, excellent work. At Always Booking Comedy, we always want to know about the comics we're talking to. Tell me about how you got into comedy.
I was sitting at a funeral and I thought of a joke, and I knew I couldn't tell it at the funeral, so I thought, well, the only place I'll be able to tell that is on stage. And then I thought, well, I'll never get on stage because it's too scary. And then I knew I had to get on stage because if something's not going to kill you, you should probably do it if it scares you.
Nice.
That's
That's
the number
good.
one reason. And
Okay.
then, yeah, and changing people's minds. If people have already made up their mind about something, you can change. There's two ways you can change it. One is to be their trusted advisor, or the other is to make them laugh. So I don't have the time to be a trusted advisor.
Hmm.
So brainwashing. That's
Yeah, you're changing the world here.
yes.
Does your last name have two L's in it?
No, it does not.
Okay, good. I thought the title of this was misspelled, but no, it's correct. Good. Excellent. Okay, well, that's a great reason to get into comedy. That's good. Did you do that in Minnesota?
The first time I got up on stage was at Dublin's. Mhm.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that room. Uh,
Yes.
Good old Dublin's in Duluth, Minnesota. Everybody, was that like 3 hours from Minneapolis?
Depends how fast you drive, but yes.
Okay,
I think
nice.
you could do it in an hour and a half.
Oh my goodness, I recorded a, like I recorded a thing with Carmen Legal in the car, and I really probably shouldn't release it because the district attorney is going to come after me for just unsafe driving.
I wonder what the statute of limitations is on bad driving.
I don't think they can get you if it's just like recorded. I don't think. I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know. Maybe there's something else they can get
they
you
have
with.
those stoplight cameras.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's talk about booking stuff. Tell me about a really big booking win you got early in your comedy career, something you were real psyched about.
Oh, early.
Or it could be more recent, I guess.
Yeah. The going to the very red part of Minnesota, uh, and doing a tour through northern Minnesota, which is the reddest part of the state. Well, except the extreme south is also very red, and getting to do the feature gigs and in Grand Rapids and Roseau and Bemidji, and then as the opening for Mary Mac. That was, and
That's
I helped.
amazing.
I booked the Roseau show, and then Mary booked a Bemidji show, and then another gentleman who came with us, Patrick DeGeest, who acted as the host in the opener. He booked the show in Grand Rapids. So
What a team effort.
it was a team effort, and it went just so well. People were just great crowds. Playing like a 300-seat theater in Roseau, and literally
Wow,
having 10% of the town come out because it was sold
that's
out.
wild. That's
Yeah,
wild.
so the
I've
population of
never.
Roseau is 3,000, and we had 300 people in that theater.
Wow. 200 is the most I've ever performed for, give or take 20. Um, that's huge. That's great. So, talk to us about the show that you booked. How did you find the
Uh,
venue? What went well? What could you improve? That kind of stuff.
yeah, it was a learning experience for me. I'll tell you another show that I booked too was I've booked some high school graduation parties, which are a good. Those are a challenge. Like the Duluth East High School, they just contacted me and they said, here's our budget. Can you get somebody to come in and headline? And because I didn't want to headline that, it's good to know your limits, I think, and to do a high school event like that, you have to be clean. And so being clean for 45 minutes to an hour. So the first two comics I contacted, they said, nah, we're not going to do that. We're not. And then they referred me to Robert Burrell, who did the headlining on that one. And then this year, Mary Mack is coming back for that in Duluth.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Cool.
I had to tease her with some wine and dinner on my deck.
This is how you book quality comics, everybody.
Yes, wine, dinner on my deck, a dog-friendly hotel.
Nice, nice. That helped. Dog friendly hotel helped me recently with a booking. That's a good thing to
That's
know. Like
that's what I heard from
lodging is an
Leah. Yeah.
important,
Mhm.
is an important piece of booking road comedy. You want to have good relationships with the hotels, and you need to know which ones are dog friendly because it's not like maybe not surprising, but a lot of comics travel with their dogs.
Yes, and I mean, I'm sure, it's always fun to get into the numbers, but just to for confidentiality for the headliner, I don't think I can do that. But what I can tell you is that I knew what the number was that we needed to have in order to book the headliner for the Rosso show and for the Bemidji show, or I mean, and for the high school show. And so what I would do is I gave them a good, better, best. So three options. I said,
Hmm.
if this is how much you want to spend, if you only want to spend $900, this is what I can do for you. If you want to spend $1,500, this is what I can do. If you want to spend X, this is what I can do. And then you just show them the quality, the different levels of quality that they'll get at those price points.
Hmm.
And they went for the deluxe package. Good, better,
Nice.
best.
That's awesome. So did
Yeah.
you have to pay for the theater?
No. Although it might have been better if I had.
Did they keep some of the ticket sales or?
Oh, for sure. They kept all the ticket sales.
So what did you just? Oh, you
We
just got
renegotiate
whatever
we
they
negotiated the
paid
price
you.
up front. Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
So yeah, it's
Yeah,
who takes the risk, right?
yeah, exactly. Hmm. Hmm. Always. That's a
Hmm.
tough thing. Like I'm tend to be a risk taker, but after a while, you kind of start to figure out. Well, I'm not sure this room is gonna move tickets. This lineup, this
Mhm.
room, etc. But I would always bet on Mary Mack after what I've seen her do.
Yes, me too. Uh,
Yeah.
I can tell you that I had inside information on a 500 to 600 seat theater with an A level comedian, and the promoter for that had to guarantee $20,000 up front, and
Wow.
ended up making $10,000. So the gross, well, then they're paying the theater. The theater got paid $5,000, and then there
Okay.
was a thousand
So let
dollars.
me do some math real quick. Five
Yeah.
hundred dollars. If you're talking $20 tickets, that's 10 grand. Is that right? Yeah,
Uh,
10 grand. And if you go $40, then it's 20 grand. Probably somewhere in the middle of there. So 15,000. It costs you 5,000. You got 10,000 left. That doesn't. I would not take that bet. Although I don't know what A. I guess A list like Chris Rock.
I don't want to say.
Oh, no, no, no. Don't say
Yeah.
the actual comic, but like give me some
Someone
other.
someone that's had two specials on HBO,
Okay.
two full hour specials on HBO.
Okay. Yeah, maybe tickets are more expensive. I mean, even if it was $50 times 500 is 5,000, 25,000. I mean, you break even at $50 with a sellout. I guess if
The
you sell 600 instead of 500 tickets, that changes things. But that doesn't seem
this
like a great
the
deal.
sellout was, or the gross top line was about 35,000, including alcohol sales.
Okay.
So then the feature and the headliner split 20,000. The headliner had to pay the feature, so I don't know what that was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the headliner got 20K, and then the headline and a hotel. Then
Isn't
the
that
headline.
wild? By the way,
Mhm.
can we just pause for one night, right? We're talking
Mhm.
about one show.
One show.
I mean, some of these comics are making a ton of money,
Mhm.
you know? I mean, like $500,000, $1 million bucks a year if you do the math. It's wild. And they're
Yeah,
earning it. I'm not
let's,
like
yeah, no,
saying,
let's,
and they've earned it over a very long career to get the fan base. It's so hard to sell tickets. If you can sell out a 600-person theater, like, oof, more
yeah,
power to you.
let me just look up to see if I could figure out how long this person has been doing comedy. I would guess 30 years, right?
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah. You don't have
guess.
to give it. I don't want you to give
Okay.
away so much information that that people can figure it out. But that's interesting. That's fascinating. Okay, so that was your big booking win. How did you fall into that in the first place? Like, did you originate that 3-show run, or did somebody come to you,
I
or how did
did.
that happen?
I
You
did.
did. Okay.
Mhm,
Well, that's very proactive. That's great, and
mhm.
it sounds like it worked very well.
Yes. So I got contacted, and we could talk about how they find me. But first, whenever somebody contacts me to do a show, whether it's a high school show or a small bar or a larger or a theater, I never say no. I just tell them how much it'll cost, right?
Yep.
I just say this is absolutely I can do that. And I give them the good, better, best option,
Yep.
and then they're the ones who have to say no.
Yeah. Interesting. Are you pitching? You're pitching yourself as the host, but you're going to bring in a headliner. Is that the idea?
I pitch myself as the feature,
As the feature. Okay, nice.
although I would defer to the headliner. I mean, ultimately, the most important thing to me is that it's a good show, right? I
Yeah,
want the I want everybody to feel like they were undersold and over delivered, and so
yeah. Under
yeah,
promised, over delivered.
yeah.
You want the show oversold.
Yes,
The
under
people you're
promised, over
working with.
delivered. That's right. Undersold. I don't know. Yeah, no, oversold. Yeah, sold
Yes,
out, and
exactly.
it was, and it was. So
We got a question from the Carolinas. Can you explain the good, better, best options? I get the cost different, but what are the other details?
so yeah, I mean, I used to run a business, and I studied. I really am interested in um, the psychology of pricing theory, and so I try to create the big package is the package that I think is the show that I want to sell, and I make it the most attractive uh, performers, and then I put it at a price that it's going to take to make that show work, to make it worth everybody's while, right? Then one step down is probably usually in the middle. So if the top price is 7,500, then one step down might be 3,400 or 3,900, and then the bottom one is a bargain price, depending upon how far I have to travel. So it'd be like 1,900 or maybe even 950.
Mhm.
So something that's super easy to swallow if they don't have a big budget. And and then I always would price that lowest tier. I mean, if you have to travel a long distance, that has to be included in the pricing. You have to calculate
Right.
all those costs. So there does come a point where if they just say no, they say no to even the lowest
So
price
do
one.
they know the artists they're getting, or do you just give a
Yes,
description? Okay, so you say good is this much and this person,
yes,
better is this much and this person, best is this much and this person.
yes. And I give them the headliner, the feature, and the opener. And then
Yeah,
I
for
give them
all
the
three.
bios and
Yep.
links to videos.
And what about like show length is the same regardless what package they get. There's no
Yes,
other different like the type of spotlight or any of the equipment or anything. It's all the same. It's really just
right.
the talent that varies.
Yes,
Nice.
I do have equipment, and I always bring it,
Yeah.
even if they're supplying the equipment.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. Got to be a challenge to know other people's availability. That's tricky because if your client accepts and then the person gets booked on something else, then you look kind of silly if you've promised a very specific act. Have you ever run into
I
that
wouldn't
problem?
put myself in that position.
So what do? You have like an ironclad contract?
It's yes, and it's booked out far enough in advance that I know all the dates.
Okay, nice. Um, good luck with that contract the first time somebody wants to break it. I
Oh,
hope it.
well, I mean, that's if how often, I mean, you never work with that person again, right?
I know. I was
Do
just
you,
thinking about that person today
yeah, you,
because they something happened and I thought about somebody who did that to me, and
I
yeah,
can't,
real
yeah,
bummer. It
you
happens
can't
a lot.
you can't burn bridges like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't if you're not outstanding. Some people get away with it repeatedly because they're just that good. And
I
I
would,
don't know.
you know, I'm not, I'm still a newbie in it, but so what I would say is I wouldn't book that person again, even if
Yeah.
they're great.
Yep. I mean, I feel similar. I mean, we had,
Well, that's not fair. Okay, so how would I? So let's think it through. How would I be willing to book that person again? I'd want some sort of a commitment that had a financial
yeah,
claw,
kill.
right?
They call it a kill fee. And anybody
Yeah.
who has representation will never agree to a kill fee. It's terrible. You read these contracts and they're like,
Hmm.
for any reason, they can just not show up
Hmm.
with almost no notice. But yeah, I mean, that is a good. I've I've uh, I've I've had many conversations about this. Um, so okay, let's talk about that was a great question, Mark. Thanks for that question. By the way, that's not me, Mark. That's the Mark in the Carolinas. Um, well, um, tell me about I don't know. Tell me about a what kind of advice would you give to another showrunner? Like, what's something you think you do really well as a showrunner?
Communication and setting realistic expectations. Uh, it's I would rather be redundant than have a miscommunication. I triple check.
Yeah. Hmm. That's good. Yeah, you got to over communicate. I
And
mean,
then,
it's have you
mhm,
ever had comedians get annoyed by too much communication?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, but too bad.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you. But we have similar personalities, I guess. Not
Mhm.
everybody is, that's not necessarily a universal truth. Not some people run successful shows without communicating super well, and
I can't.
some
I
people
wouldn't
just
be able to sleep. I wouldn't be able to sleep if I didn't feel like everybody understood.
yeah. We got Mark's got another question. This is terrific. You mentioned you were a business owner. Do you rent out any of your stuff, lights, cameras, chairs, etc., when not in use?
I'm pretty nice to people. I usually let them use it for free. Well,
That's what
that's what I've always done. I just lend it to them. Um, and the business I owned had nothing to do with entertainment. I ran it was a technology business for 20 years.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I've thought about renting some of my stuff, and then you get into the logistics of it, and it's just like, just take it, don't hurt it.
Yes.
Maybe I'll get a spot in the future from that person because I gave him some lights or whatever. And it's funny because like at least for me, I continually upgrade my equipment. Maybe I get into bigger rooms, so I need different kinds of lighting or whatever. And then I have this old stuff that I don't even know what to do. I think the more likely monetization path for me is trying to sell some of my older equipment.
I sold $10,000 worth of stuff on eBay last year. Just used electronics.
Wow, cool. Um, I need
And
to,
yeah,
if anybody wants to buy a Black Magic camera, they're very fancy, and I have one with a nice lens that I
do you
never
have
use.
a do you have a price that you need to hit to get rid of that?
No, are you an interested buyer? We'll talk offline.
No, but
Oh,
what I'm going to tell you is just put it on eBay and don't set a
oh yeah,
reserve.
yeah,
Just throw it
yeah.
up there and just let it go and see where it goes.
See what happens. That's a good idea. And the longer I wait, the less valuable it is. So I should
That is
probably,
an issue.
yeah. Um, cool. Well, any good road stories? How about that? That 3-night tour. Anything exciting happen? Interesting?
Well, there was five of us in the car, and that's always fun. I mean, I love hanging out with
Whoa.
comedians. I never get tired of road trips with other. When I'm driving by myself, I don't like it, but when I'm riding with other comics, I you know I went 25 hours straight with Mary Mac out to Traverse City, and I loved every minute of it. I did not want that drive to end. And it's different for me too because so when I'm traveling with the headliner, because I'm rarely the headliner, uh, I always defer to what they want, and that's not my natural instinct. I'm usually sort of a control freak, so I have to go into those situations like I'm I'm just along for the ride and I'm going to enjoy the journey, and whatever they want, I submit. I get submissive.
Huh.
It's a different position, and it it's interesting to not have that responsibility sometimes too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So what made you laugh the most? Do you remember anything?
Uh, so Mary and I were looking for a particular beach to stop and have pizza, and we had driven past the beach. And I am the kind of person that I hate going backwards. So so I will not turn around and go back. It's like we have to go find the next beach in my head. And she's like, Danielle, I think you should just be willing to turn around this time. I think it'll be worth it. And I'm like, oh. And so we turned around and we went back. And it was the perfect beach. It was a perfect sunset. We had an amazing pizza, and she was right. So
Yeah,
I went against my no going back instinct and had a wonderful little evening there watching the
that's all.
sunset over Lake Michigan.
That's terrific. That's great. All right. Well, what's your next book? What do you want to get booked on? That would be a nice goal for you.
What do I have coming up in the fall? I mean, I do
Or,
have a
well,
bunch
I
of.
got a follow-up question to that once you answer that one.
Well, I tell you, I'm going to send a tape to that person we met.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
So if
Vail
that came
Comedy
to
Festival
fruition.
making industry
Hmm.
connections, everybody. Don't you
Hmm.
forget it. VailComedyFestival.com every Memorial Day weekend. That's cool.
Uh,
Good, good. Well,
and I
that was
learned a.
quite the goal. So, without
Mhm.
saying exactly what we're talking about like a major television show with millions of viewers. That would be, yeah,
Mhm.
that's pretty high up there. And you got a baby step towards there, something halfway.
I just try to get better. I just try
Yeah,
to get better every show, every day, every week. I feel like as long as I'm making progress, that the good things will fall into place. And to that extent, that's what was so great about this last weekend because, we had the comedy school. I met two great bookers, plus got to talk to comedians, and I got concrete feedback. And I know a lot of comedians kind of their spine bristles when people give them criticism, but I love it. It hurts, but I love it.
yeah. Um, So most of that, the feedback, by the way, isn't technically part of the Vail Comedy Festival. We had a Vail Comedy School the day before.
Mhm.
I don't want people to ever see this and then think, oh, you do your sets at the festival, and then they just pick you apart.
No, but I asked for it
Yeah.
because so after
During
the
the school,
shows,
or do you
the
mean?
school, but also from one of the bookers.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So you after the shows, you're sitting down, you're having some tequila, and
Yeah.
you're talking to somebody for an hour, and and they say something like, "Can I give you a little advice?" And you're like, "Heck yeah, give me some advice."
Nice. That's cool. Okay. So inversion of that question, is there somebody that you really would like to book?
Oh, I would love to book Tig Notaro or Sam Morril. I mean, Tig, I Maria Bamford, Tig Notaro. If I just I watch Tig Notaro over and over and over again, trying to get the courage to pause like she does. She's such a good
Yeah.
pauser.
Can you see a path towards that? Like, what size venue do you think you'd need, or budget, or like where how do you think that's remotely possible? I mean, I think it is, but like, what's preventing you from doing that right now?
That's a good question because you know what? I think it's just that I'm finally just learning what it takes to get to that point. And up until now, it's been fear.
Huh.
And well, I mean, the risk of the money, but I can take the money risk. It's and it's work, right? It's a lot of work. Booking a show is, especially
Yeah,
if you're the one renting out the theater and making sure everything's working correctly. Yeah, like you said, I mean it's
yeah.
work. That what's preventing me? Hard work, huh? Is that what the
That's hilarious. I mean, it might be geography. There might not be a venue that supports an act like that
Oh, Duluth,
outside of
Duluth.
Minneapolis or something.
In the summer at Bayfront Festival Park, we can fit 8,000 people. So that's the question I would ask for you, though, is do you think an outdoor venue, I mean, they do stadiums, so I would
Yeah.
think an outdoor venue would
I mean,
work.
certain comics like that stuff. Bert Kreischer will do an outdoor show. Other comics, not interested. And you might have a hard time negotiating because they'd be like, well, let's say it was $20 is the standard rate. You might say, oh, this thing's outdoors. Tell them I want $45 or I'm not doing it. And then if they didn't get it, they'd be like, I don't care. I'll find a
Yes,
different $20 event that's more palatable.
but that goes both ways. I mean, you could say it's $20, and if you don't take that, then I don't care. I'll find a different comedian, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I think you're more likely for an outdoor show to get that kind of reaction. Um, Here's a little tip: if you're trying to book a big artist like that, they usually you won't be booking them directly. You'll be booking through some kind of
Hmm.
representation, like an agent, and there's specific language you can use. Um, Basically, when you say that. You'd like to make a specific offer to an artist, the agent is required to share that offer with the person.
Hmm.
Uh, they can't just like say like they wouldn't want to do that. They have to share it at some point, and then the person can just say no. And they might do 20 of them in a single 3-minute phone call. They might say something like, "Hey, we got like 17 offers here under 10 grand." No, like but yeah, if you find out who represents them, you tell them I would like to make an offer to this person, and you detail it, time, date, amount, location, um, lodging, information. That you might get a lot of questions back, but as long as you're making a firm offer, then um, if you're ready to do that, it's going to get to the eyeballs or
What
ears.
if you were to open a comedy club? What would be the smallest size for seating that you would consider?
I don't know.
50
Uh,
seats, 100 seats?
I mean, do you have an alcohol license?
Yes, you would.
Okay. I mean, I'd have to like get into a spreadsheet and figure out. I mean, there are two different ways of looking at it. One is smaller club, easier to sell out, more fun for the comics. You're gonna be booking people. They're gonna want to be there. But the economics are hard. Like, how many chicken fingers do you need to sell a month to pay the mortgage? Versus if you get a bigger club, maybe you have crappy shows because the room is 10%
Mhm.
full or whatever. Um, and at that point, you're not selling enough chicken fingers. I think an ideal situation is like a flex space. Either you have
Yes.
two different rooms, like the Comedy Store has the belly room. It has three rooms, if you can support that, or you have one room, but it's got like a temporary wall or
Mhm.
something.
That's
You
what
don't
I would
tell them,
envision. I would envision like a longer, wider rectangular room with a wall that was on rollers that you could roll forward to constrict the size of that room.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we're landing the plane here and Always Booking
Okay.
Comedy. Danielle, fantastic to talk to you. You're very interesting. Comes coming all the way from Duluth, Minnesota. Right now, live in Vale. Book shows, been booked on shows. Knows a lot. Has worked with some pretty fancy headliners. Pretty cool. Where can people find you? What do you want to promote?
My yeah, my Instagram is right there on the screen.
Okay. For our
And
audio listeners, do you want to share?
Danny DT, DANIDEETEE.
Okay, terrific.
I'll be in Traverse City, Michigan on June 22nd. That's going to be a good show.
Okay,
My
2023.
mom will be there this year.
Okay. All right. Fun, fun, fun. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back next
Thank you.
Monday, 6:30 p.m. Mountain. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.